Otoha is Stella Sora's second exclusive unit. She's the latest addition to the Umbra lineup. And, like with other versatile units, we'll be focusing on her build in the support position. So, let's look at her gameplay and then the math around her builds, talents, emblems, and discs. As expected for a versatile unit, Otoha as a support acts as a backline DPS. Her skill shoots out a forward-moving barrage, hitting up to 8 times, while applying a dot. This dot counts as skill damage and also applies the Umbra mark. Her two builds focus on either ultimate or skill damage. The ultimate build, while it does generate a lot of ultimate energy, doesn't actually rely on her ultimate cast itself to do big damage. Instead, it constantly triggers bursts of ultimate damage. You hit enemies marked by the dot from her skill, which in turn triggers a burst of lasers for constant DPS. Her skill build, on the other hand, causes her to fire multiple barrages, while significantly slowing down her skill's movement speed, allowing it to concentrate in one area and repeatedly hit a target. While she has some general buffs to the team in her broader kit, her skill build additionally has another damage taken debuff. But before we can get into builds, let's talk about team options. The generic team to run with Otoha includes Firenze as main, and Cosette as support. However, for those without Firenze, you can instead focus on an Otoha hypercarry comp, where you run Cosette as main, and then either Mistique or Coronis as your final support slot. Let's now get into what these builds actually look like. When running Firenze with a skill build Otoha, here are the potential priorities. A build code can be found in the description. In the preset, potentials that have a low priority to level up will have 2 points put into them, so that you can remember, oh, this isn't a 1-point wonder, but at the same time, I probably shouldn't invest too much. That makes sense, right? Firenze will be running her skill build here, with step kicking and nimble step as cores. High risk and hunting command are the two highest value potentials for her, followed by place your bets, dark pirouette, and at a lower priority, flash break and instant liquidation. On Otoha, take Ripple of Shadow and Evening Rain as cores. Devouring Shadow and Murmur of Annihilation are two passive potentials that have a very high value. Next, Rain Woven Sorrow and Bone Chilling Rain are taken in conjunction for debuffing power. Rain Woven Sorrow doesn't actually do that much damage-wise, but is needed to significantly slow down her skill's travel speed to maximize the debuff uptime. Silent Now or Inevitable End can be considered for more damage afterward. For Cosette, you'll want Eclipse Imprint and Phantom Mark as cores. Dark Afterglow and Gift of Darkness should be prioritized, followed by Demon Mark, Dark Hallucination, and Void Blessing. Nether Blaze is potentially a very powerful option, but requires heavy investment into Cosette's charge efficiency to line up with Firenze's ultimate properly. Especially with Otoha's high mark application rates, Dark Mirage should be avoided due to inconsistency. What about Otoha's ultimate build? Priorities across the team remain the same. On Otoha, we'll take Lonely Twin Shadows and Nightwalker as cores. Her top two potentials still remain as Devouring Shadow and Murmur of Annihilation, with Solitary Lantern and Without a Trace being priorities after that. Hollow Steps and Silent Knell are considerations following that. For the Firenze list, Cosette will be switched up to the main slot. We'll first look at a version with Coronis, as she is a much lower investment option. On Otoha herself, both the skill and ultimate builds can work similarly on paper, but the ultimate build, with its built-in crit rate as well as consistent hits, is better for Cosette's Night Guard traits, which reduces her skill's cooldown on critical hit. Speaking of which, we'll run that as well as Nocturne Mark as her cores. Dark Claw Haunt and Twilight Wish are her two highest valued potentials, followed by Dark Claw Edge and Nether Blaze. Shadow Flash Enigma has non-zero value for when you inevitably get offered more of her potentials. On Otoha, Solitary Lantern and Without a Trace contribute to most of her damage, followed by Devouring Shadow and Murmur of Annihilation. Wrap up the build with Hollow Steps, Silent Veil, or Blossom Corroded Abyss. Bonus points if you avoid the soft cap to get multiple of these. On Coronis, take both skeleton cores just for a little more break efficiency, though Toxin Infusion can be considered to make the proccing of certain on-hit gimmicks from stage buffs or discs a bit easier. Underground Healer and Tag of Fate are her only two potentials of damage value to the team, while 1 point in medical research can further assist in resilience break. Mistique offers less damage amping power than Coronis, but can compensate with some damage of her own. For cores, you'll want Happy Face and Reality Erosion. A Solar Absorption is her only debuffing potential. Outside of that, any of her damage potentials, namely the Shadow Shackles or the Conjuring, can be taken for a little extra damage. Let's now talk about gameplay briefly. While in most cases, just mashing skill off cooldown isn't necessarily wrong, let's specifically talk about the Firenze team with a skill build Otoha variant. Both Otoha and Cosette's debuffs do not have 100% uptime. Specifically, Cosette only has a 2.5 second window where all of her relevant buffs and debuffs are up at their maximum, where Otoha's debuff gets to 20 stacks between the 4 to 11 second mark. With Firenze's skill charge cap of 2, and her cooldown conveniently half that of Otoha and Cosette, ideally, you want to use her skill at the 1 second and 6 second mark to benefit the most from the support buffs, while keeping her Nimble Step domain up for constant damage. How strong are Otoha's talents? Because her second and third talent are reliant on her ultimate or constant ultimate damage, her talents are relatively stronger for the ultimate build compared to the skill build. But you can expect to see between 30 to just shy of 50% personal damage increase between talent 0 and 5. Let's first look at her emblems in her skill build. Umbra Pen is different from the defense pen in her kit, and as such, has the same value as with other trackers. Both crit rate and skill damage are very powerful lines, with Umbra damage and attack percent coming after. Support skill plus 3 rivals the very first line of Umbra Pen as well. On the 90 emblem, we'll specifically look at team damage to properly account for the debuff value in the broader scope. Murmur of Annihilation and Bone Chilling Rain have the highest values here, with Devouring Shadow and Rainwoven Sorrow having less than half the overall impact. In her ultimate build, there are several notable differences. Obviously, you'll want ultimate damage instead of skill damage, but even though it has a higher stat value, it's also more diluted. Support skill plus 3 is not nearly as important as before, but still beats a second line of pen, since a lot of your ultimate damage is unintuitively not actually coming from your ultimate. Ultimate plus 3 is not that meaningful at all. Finally, let's cover discs, starting with a skill build. Her limited disc, having type-based damage taken, is the strongest option by quite a bit. Though, on the topic of limited disc, Firenze's disc with Stereo Dream is kinda very mid. Firenze's defense disc, the Butt of Change, isn't great at all either, and should be placed in the support slot, even in favor of the Cataclysm disc. Speaking of support slot, Sunlit Blossom is exceptionally powerful here, as skill damage buffs are scarce in this team. In the ultimate focus build, the disc priorities are very similar. Even Sunlit Blossom is still strong due to Firenze getting a lot of value from it. That wraps up this Otoha guide. As a reminder, you can find codes for the builds covered in this video in the description. Maybe next, we'll take a look at Chitose again, now that she's been buffed alongside her upcoming rerun. We will see. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!